はい、こんにちは、アーサーです。今日の動画では本当に生のネイティブ同士の会話をお届けしたいと思います。初めての方は Welcome to the channel。このチャンネルを通してより多くの日本人の方が英語を学ぶだけじゃなくて実際に話せるようになって世界とつながってほしいと思っています。で、その第一歩はですね、実際の会話になれることですね。実際の英会話になれることです。でもほとんどの英会話系の教材はスクリプトがあったりして実際にネイティブが日常的に話す会話とかなり違うんですよね。そこであなたに興味を持ってもらえそうな話題をアメリカ人の友達のオースティンと話してみました。That's what we talked about today. で、今回はですね、アメリカの州によって法律がどのように違うかっていうトピックです。アメリカは日本と違って州によって法律がかなり違ってその違いを生かして別の州に行く人が多いですね。で、今回はいろんな驚きがあると思うのでぜひ最後まで見てくださいね。これは 100% リアルでフィルターなしの会話だからこそその生の英語に触れることができたらなと思います。それでは Let's get started. Alright, cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, that was creepy, man.
That goes down real good.
Yeah. This is the second bottle from Mutsuhiro-san.
Yeah.
So this is great. Chisane. I love this. I would love another one of these. I normally don't get sake from IU-Connect, but this is good.
This is just like, it's so, I don't know if creamy is the right word, but it kind of feels.
It has that a little bit, yeah.
A little bit,
It's very
right?
refreshing. This is a
Yeah.
great summer sake, and it's
Yeah.
getting hot now. We're filming this at the end of May. So.
Man, I don't want to derail us already, but I guess this year is like, it's El Nino, but like scientists are saying that like, there's a lot of activity on the sun right now. So it's like super El Nino. So this summer is going to be
Isn't
hot.
El Nino like an American thing?
Is it?
Yeah, I thought El Nino was like a West Coast thing.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so
I
the
thought
way
it was just a world thing.
No. So the way that I heard it is that because
I thought El Nino was just like the season of the sun.
No, I thought El Nino was like the rainy hot season with the storms and hurricanes and stuff.
Really?
You know what? Let's
We just did ChatGPT.
Yeah, we're gonna actually here we were just filming. Let me just ask ChatGPT. Okay. Hey ChatGPT, what is El Nino in the weather sense?
El Nino is a climate pattern that describes the periodic warming of sea surface temperatures in the central and eastern tropical Pacific Ocean. This warming disrupts normal atmospheric circulation patterns. As a result, it can lead to significant global weather shifts, often causing drier conditions in regions like Australia or Indonesia and increased rainfall in parts of South America. It's part of a larger cycle known as the El Nino Southern Oscillation, and it can have wide-ranging impacts on temperature, precipitation, and even storm activity across the globe.
Okay, so can you explain it to me like I'm 5?
Sure. Imagine the ocean is like a giant bathtub.
Oh,
Half of the time, the warm water stays on one side, near places like Australia. But sometimes, the warm water spreads out across the whole bathtub towards South America. When that happens, the weather changes all over the world. Some places get more rain than usual, and other places get less. That's what we call El Nino.
All right.
Yeah, there you go. So it's more of like a water pattern. I thought it would cause like hurricanes or something like
Okay.
that. Maybe we were both wrong.
Anyways, long story short, there's a lot of sun activity.
Yes.
And I guess in America, it's super El Nino.
Yeah.
It's hot.
Yeah.
It's going to be really hot this summer.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because like, I always thought that, things will get hotter because it's summertime. And so the Earth's axis is tilted so that the part of the Earth where you are is closer to the sun. That's why it's summer.
Uh-huh.
But no, what really causes the temperature is the jet streams and the water temperature, because that's why you can have a heat wave like we had, and then you can have 2-3 days of super cold weather, you know?
Yeah.
But anyways, weather's unpredictable. It's going to be warm. Every year it's going to get hotter and hotter and hotter until I sweat my ass off like that.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's exactly it.
The Boston came out. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we are not talking about that. Well, we were talking about
states' rights.
not states' rights. We're talking about how, because in Japan,
Yeah.
all the prefectures pretty much have the same laws. But in America,
Yeah.
the laws are different according to state. There's some federal laws and there's state laws, but that actually influences behavior.
Well, I mean, there's
People.
a reason why it's called the United States of America.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because, quite purposefully so,
Mm-hmm.
like this was deliberately set up when the U.S. was founded, is basically every state is its own country,
Yeah.
right? And there's this skeleton that's like the federal system that kind of holds everything together, but like, for the most part, states can kind of just govern themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, they literally can because they have governors.
It's changing now,
Right.
though.
Yeah?
It's changing a little bit. No, but keep on going. Finish your thought.
Thoughts
Oh, that was
finished.
it. Your thoughts finished. Okay. No, so I think what we do see is a trend from the state level to a federal level. Everything's
Yeah.
starting to concentrate. But before we talk about that kind of high level stuff, let's really ground this into reality where, so for me, I remember something that really shows this difference well is when I was in Seattle
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted to buy a new Mac, and Macs are expensive.
Yeah.
And my friend said, "Hey, dude, don't buy a Mac here. Let's just go down to Portland."
Dude, I'm glad you brought that up.
And
'Cause I
I
was literally just
yeah.
thinking that.
And I was
Yeah.
like, "Why?" And he said, "Because there's no sales tax
Yep.
on that, and so you would get it like $100 cheaper almost,
Mhm.
And what's funny is that reminded me of when I was in Massachusetts, because in Massachusetts it's illegal to sell fireworks, but it's not in New Hampshire, which
Yeah.
is right north of us.
Yeah.
So people would go over to New Hampshire, buy fireworks, and then come back down.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the same in Washington. Like
Yeah.
you instead of whatever made up land you just named.
New Hampshire.
Yeah. we
Come on, man.
we would drive to Idaho and
Yeah.
do the same thing because
Idaho
Idaho's
potatoes.
got like
Potatoes.
well
Yeah.
and guns and fireworks. So.
Yeah. So what are some examples of things that you?
I was just gonna let you figure that one out yourself.
So for those who are watching on the podcast, I've been spending the past 5 seconds trying to open this bottle, but the cap is already removed. We haven't even really started drinking. This is
No.
our first episode. Man, I'm gonna be screwed today.
Oh
Oh
man,
man.
that was funny to watch.
Okay.
I just saw you pick that up, and I'm like, yeah. Oh no, this is happening. All right.
I'm gonna have to rewatch the episode. Look at your expression on your face.
Mm.
But anyways, so what are some things where you've taken advantage of like different state laws and maybe bought something or did something?
Oh man, I don't know why I'm having such a hard time thinking about this.
Mhm.
I think one of the things that has really affected me, like living on the West Coast, is driving laws.
Mm-hmm.
So there are different driving cultures depending
Yeah.
on which state you're in. And I'll give an example, like California and Seattle, or California and Washington.
Yeah.
Washington, the drivers in Washington are kind of known for being really cautious and really safe
Yes,
drivers.
they are.
And very slow,
Yes.
right?
Pisses me off.
It is annoying as hell.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize this until I moved to California.
Yeah.
But also the police in Washington are very strict.
Yeah.
They're very strict. If you get pulled over, like, you're probably getting a ticket.
Yeah.
Right? And they'll pull you over for just going like just a couple miles over the speed limit.
Mhm.
They're very strict. California, on the other hand, is basically the opposite of everything I just said.
Yeah.
There is it feels like there's basically no rules
Yeah.
when you're in California. You can drive as fast as you want. You can speed past a cop. There's like a 50-50 chance, maybe even less, that they're even going to bother pulling you over.
Yeah.
There's a very famous term called the California stop.
Okay.
Have you heard of
No,
that?
I haven't. What's
So
that?
California stop is like this rolling stop.
Yeah.
You never actually
At the stop sign, and you
So
never
like
stop?
stop sign, you just kind of slow down and then you just keep going.
Yeah.
That's called a California stop. And there's a reason for that. It's because that's what everyone does.
Yeah, it was funny because in Boston we do that too, but it's so commonplace. We just call it stopping.
Yeah.
It's not even
And
stopping.
turn signals. Turn signals are never used in California.
Yeah.
You just don't
Do you
see
guys
them.
do you guys have a word for turn signals? Like a slang term?
No,
We call them blinkas.
I hate you.
Hey, you
Hey.
forgot to turn on your blinker.
You need to turn on your blinkers.
Yeah. 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 Although it's funny because
Yeah.
in in Massachusetts, when you're on the highway, you never want to use your blinkers until right when you're about to turn,
Okay.
because otherwise
people
will zoom up and they'll be informed. They'll try to stop you from going into their lane.
You know what? That checks out. That's exactly what I would imagine somebody from Massachusetts to do. You're like, oh no, this guy's not getting in my lane.
Yeah. It's like, what, you think you're better than me? No way, I'm getting ahead of you. Yes. Yeah. But what's funny is because like all of New England is known for having like really, really rough driving. I think Connecticut's a little bit better, but technically it's like Rhode Island and where Peter Griffin from Family Guy's from. Rhode Island and Massachusetts have the most car injuries per capita of any state.
Yeah.
And it's just because we're crazy. But you know what's funny is in New York City, they're kind of like that too. But the second you go into New York State, like you leave the city proper, you start to go in the state, they have like cop cars positioned there waiting to catch the people speeding because they haven't like adjusted. There's like a clear line where it's like, okay, now you have to follow the rules.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that. So I've never been to the East Coast in my life. But I've talked to a lot of people from New York and like both New York City and New York State. And it's my understanding that people from New York think of like New York City as like this quarantine zone.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's this own thing. And once you get in the countryside, it's like, no, I don't.
It is.
I'm not one of those people. I'm not a New York City person.
It's complete. Well, okay. So it's like comparing Seattle to Ellensburg.
Yeah.
You know, it's completely different, you know? And you kind of have that in Boston with Western Massachusetts too, because it's mainly farmland.
Yeah.
But like one thing though I remember my dad told me was something interesting because you know there in my mind, you know, the laws were different. Some laws were different, but the big important laws like the driving age and the drinking age were like federally designed. But what I found out was when my dad was in college back in like the early 80s, the drinking age in Massachusetts was 18.
Yep.
But now it's 21 everywhere because the federal government will give funding to states who adopt these laws.
Yeah, so it used to be the same thing in Idaho.
Oh, yeah?
People drive to Idaho and go get drunk.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's if you want to bring it to a more recent term, I'll give you another thing that's very varied on state is drug laws.
Yeah.
So, Washington, where I'm from, and Colorado were the two first states in the United States to legalize marijuana.
Yeah.
And so I remember because I remember voting on that law.
Yeah.
I voted no, by the way.
Okay.
Voted no because I saw the future. I was like, this place is going to become a drug den and it's going to be crappy and there's going to be graffiti everywhere.
Dude,
now when you go to Seattle, it's a drug den and it's crappy and there's graffiti everywhere.
You know, just I was all for people deciding to like use drugs if they wanted to and stuff. But now when I go back there and I'm walking with my family and I smell weed coming out of the cars in the park.
It's so annoying. Like I personally don't have a problem if like people do drugs, but it's like just, I wish it was still illegal publicly.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to do it in your own home, like that's whatever. But God, man, I just want to enjoy outside.
Well, they should, you know what, they should do kind of like what they do with alcohol because
right.
Like in the States, which a lot of people find weird is you cannot drink alcohol outside. It has to be in the establishment or it has to be
concealed.
Well, yeah. So what people will do to get around is they'll have like a brown paper bag around it so they can't check. But officially, you're not allowed to drink alcohol outside on public property.
Yeah.
But
yeah, so I remember, I want to say it was like 2014.
Yeah.
If I remember right, that Washington legalized marijuana. And I remember at the time they started opening up like dispensaries and everything.
Yeah.
And you would get people flooding in from other states.
Yeah.
You know, they would come in from like California, or you know, Idaho, or like all these other like states around Washington. They would just come in because, you know, drugs were legal there.
Yeah.
They could buy them without being arrested, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of like you know, another thing like gay marriage and abortion.
Yeah, right.
The big controversial topics right now in US politics, they change depending on the state you're in.
Well, yeah,
right?
so I'm pretty sure like almost like all the states in the USA, have legalized gay marriage, right?
I think that's right.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% on that,
Because
though.
Massachusetts was the first state to legalize gay marriage. It was
Was
a
it?
huge thing. And so
Yeah.
what was interesting, though, was that, we
They're just super gay in Massachusetts.
yeah, I mean, dude, just okay, when you're home alone, you're feeling lonely, just type in Provincetown, Massachusetts and party, and then you'll get your fill right there.
Yeah.
I don't
Okay.
want to get my channel demonetized, so I'm not going to put it on here.
Nice.
But yeah, so I remember though, because like you said, originally the states used to be almost like separate countries. They used to have their own currency also.
I didn't know
a
that.
long time ago. So what happened is actually right after the United States was first established, they have kind of like what some people call America 1.0, which was different laws, different money, different everything. They were just like a federation of different countries,
Yeah.
and that failed. So then they came back and they started using the same currency.
Yeah.
But what you see over time is just a regular consolidation of the laws that's happening. Because I remember when, I don't remember because I wasn't alive at this time, but when the train system started getting developed, the Interstate Train Commission, they ran into problems where what if someone was in a train and committed a crime that was illegal in the destination country, but not illegal in the origin country?
Yeah.
And how would you decide the jurisdiction of that? Like, where would you try the person in that?
Yeah.
And it was really complicated.
Yeah.
Because what actually, I was just watching like a true crime video on YouTube where this guy, he did this crime. I don't want to say it in public because it was really bad, but he was supposed to get like a life sentence that got commuted to 50 years because the jurisdiction, the place where he committed the crime, the legal place, did not find him guilty, but the place he was living at the time found him guilty. So they couldn't give him the full sentence because the place where he committed the crime, where he doesn't live, he wasn't tried there.
Yeah. It's really interesting that we're talking about this, because I was just thinking one of the things that I think, I'm going to show my bias here. Sorry, people that are just like all about Japan. I think the U.S. government is the best government in the entire world.
Okay, why is that?
And the reason why I say that is because of the way that we have systems set up, like between the state government and federal government. The thing that I really like about state governments is the fact that you can completely personalize laws to the community that you're serving, right? The problem with like these big federal government laws is they don't apply context. So, whoever's in charge of like signing the bill that sets up these laws, there might be a belief system that's completely different than the laws that are being applied on the other side of the country, right? I mean, you can bring up a number of situations that this would be the case, but like I'm trying to think of like something that can easily just come up.
Like, what about standardized education, Board of Education stuff?
Sure, standardized education, right? So let's talk about the use of religion in the classroom, because that's like a really controversial thing, and the teaching of like gender ideology, right? These two concepts are battling each other a lot in U.S. politics right now, and a lot of people are upset on both sides, and I think this is where states' rights kind of comes in, because you have federal government systems that are setting up and like forcing areas to start teaching gender ideology in their schools, and these are usually like really rural areas that are like hyper conservative, hyper religious, and Christian. And people are losing their minds about it because there's like, this goes against everything I have, like, I personally believe, and I'm raising my child to believe, right? And that right there just shows like that a federal system in this situation just doesn't work, because if the community is rejecting it, why are you forcing it onto the community to learn this?
Yeah.
It goes the opposite direction too, where I think we're seeing this less now because I think although the United States is still predominantly and massively Christian, you're seeing a shift towards like atheism now.
Yeah.
And there's a big push in like the Pledge of Allegiance was removed. And
Well, the under God line was added in the 50s. It wasn't part of the original
I
Pledge
didn't
of
know that.
Allegiance. Yeah.
but a lot of this use of like religious tone
Yeah.
is being removed from schools because a lot of communities right now are fighting, like saying like usually like urban communities, because that's how it kind of balances out.
Yeah.
Are saying like, hey, this is like archaic. Why do we have religion in the classroom? This is supposed to be like a space for everybody. And so you have both sides of the aisle, both the left and the right, that are saying like, this doesn't belong in our community. Stop forcing us to do this. Right.
Yeah. I mean, so I understand that, and I'm actually, on the whole, I'm supportive of big local government, small federal government because of the distance.
Yeah.
You know, when you have more distance, you have less responsibility.
Yeah.
The people in Washington don't care about what happens to a small school district.
They don't.
But on the other hand, people have used states' rights to justify slavery.
Sure.
And like it's funny because, you know, I grew up with a mom who lived in South Carolina. Like I said, you know, if you look up, I don't know if it's okay to show this on YouTube, but like the state of the Confederate flag of America, when I would visit my mom in South Carolina, I thought America had two different flags, because in Boston, they waved the regular Union flag, right?
Yeah.
But then in the South, they have the Confederate flag for the Confederacy.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was just the flag of Southern America.
Yeah.
But, you know, you have these people saying, we wanted to keep our rights to decide for ourselves, and the federal government didn't let us do that.
Yeah.
But then again, it dehumanized the whole race of people.
Man, you just opened up a can of worms. Look, I don't want to come off as racist, because I vehemently reject racism. I think slavery is an atrocity that should never happen to anybody. But I also think that a lot of people really simplify what Confederates had a problem with. Because, I mean, yeah, a lot of it was the slavery part. But, like, there's a lot more context in that, right?
There is more context. Yes, they did want to have self-determination. And the big push was so that they could have slaves.
Yeah, so the main reason why they had slaves was because they had plantations, right? And they were a raw product producer, whereas the North was a refinement society. Yeah. So it's like it was a lot easier for the North to give up slavery because they didn't really need slaves, right? And so I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to defend the Confederacy. I am 100% against slavery, but it's like I'm trying to be really careful with the words that I'm using right here. I think there's some parts of the argument for the Confederacy that I can understand. And part of that is I do think that there needs to be states need to have their own agency to do things. I don't want that to include slavery. Yeah. But that's what I'm trying to get.
And you know, it's no, and I totally get it, you know, because I think in theory, the idea of them saying we want self-determination to decide the laws by ourselves. In theory, I agree with that. And then they're like, okay, well, we want to infringe on the human rights of a big part of our population. And that's not okay, because that goes against like the foundational form of like how our country was built, which you can argue also, you know. But
I mean, they had slaves when the Constitution was being formed,
yeah. But, and so but it's just it's like, so I do understand the tension of you want to give freedom to the states to decide, but then it could go in a way that's detrimental and hurtful too.
I think the part that I'm just gonna say it. the part that I feel sympathetic towards the Confederacy in that situation, specifically that situation, I really want to emphasize
Not the
that.
slavery part, yeah.
The part that I feel sympathetic about is the lack of nuance in how it would affect the South for abolishing slavery, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you have the North, who it's like, okay, we end slavery, cool, we got factories. I mean, we can just hire people.
Yeah.
Whereas the South, it's like, okay, well, slavery's ending, but we need plantations because we need these things to exist to make our country run. How do we go about doing this? You know, and that's a massive societal shift that I think a lot of people were really upset because you had the federal government coming in and just being like, this is done. You can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Right. And it felt like a big shock where it's like, okay, well, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
I don't know. Figure it out yourself. You can't do it now.
Yeah.
You know?
And I get that. But then let's take this to like a more recent thing. Let's talk about Brown versus the Board of Education or something, which was like the big Supreme Court decision to desegregate school, which is funny. You know, it's funny because for those who don't know, after the Civil War ended, a lot of states in the South had segregation where they separated black people and white people, white schools and black schools.
Yep.
And my mom grew up in the desegregation area. But what's funny was I thought because the opposite of segregation is integration, I called it integration. And then someone I know from Texas said, nope, it's desegregation. As if like that was a big thing. Because it's like, we're not separate. We're not becoming one, but we're just not separated anymore is like what they wanted to say.
That's funny.
But what's funny though is like at that time, and when I say funny, we don't mean like haha laugh. It's like more interesting stuff. But I remember because, you know, my mom grew up in the South during desegregation. When her freshman year of high school, it was an all-white school. And by the fourth year, it was 50-50 black and white.
Sure.
You know? And they have some very interesting stories from that time period. But they also, wait, where was I going with this? There were some people who kind of felt like black people were dogs. And so like, I don't want a black person to use the same drinking fountain I did. Because honestly, if I saw a dog using a water fountain,
I wouldn't care.
You wouldn't care if it was a dog like licking up that thing? I would care about that.
I feel like dogs have cleaner mouths than a lot of people I've seen.
I mean,
I wouldn't want a homeless man drinking from the same fountain as me. I'd rather have a dog.
That's a good point right there.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But so people though, they had this thing of like, it's not natural for people to be together. We need to keep them separate. And that was also a state law that got repealed. And that didn't necessarily affect the economy because it wasn't based on that.
So I think you're hitting this point that I think both of us would agree on, that I think when it comes to civil rights and like human rights issues, I think that should definitely be a federal thing. Yeah. Because I mean, if you look at how the Constitution was set up, now it definitely wasn't interpreted this way when it was first, you know, like the Bill of Rights and everything. It wasn't interpreted this way when it was first made, but it's like man was created equal and, you know, they have the freedom to, you know, go out and seek their own destiny and
life, liberty,
free.
The pursuit of happiness.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think that should be applied to everybody. Like if you look at more contemporary problems with like abortion, I don't understand why abortion is even a topic. It's like personally, I don't really agree with abortion, but I also think that a person should have the choice to do that. Yeah. Right. I don't think that there should be any restrictions on it. It's like you have people that are allowed to do dumb shit all the time. Like a person can do drugs. They can blow up and be 800 pounds from McDonald's. It's like, you know, if they want to get an abortion, like I said, I don't personally agree with it, but I don't think that that should be restricted. You know, and it's like you have these laws that change a lot from state to state, and I don't like that. But like at the same time, you get a lot of laws that I think disproportionately affect rural areas. Yeah. Because, you know, it's like you think of the capital city, like even in states, but you think of like DC. DC's not a rural area. No. You go to Washington, DC, it's an urban area, right? And I think urban urban culture really changes a person's outlook on society.
Yeah.
And they will form laws because there's people from this area, they'll form laws based on that outlook that really, really affect people living in these like small rural towns, right?
Yeah. I think a big thing that like when we take it back to Japan, like you remember when they raised the sales tax in Japan to 10%? And people were having a fit over that.
Yeah.
That's an interesting thing because in the United States, sales tax is different depending on the state, depending on the
state thing.
Yeah. So like, I mean, it's changed now in Massachusetts, but when I was in high school, sales tax was 5%. And in Seattle, it was 10%.
Yeah.
So I would do big purchases. And also what's funny is, for some reason, I don't know why, maybe there was a lot of like clothing factories or something, but clothes were tax-free in Massachusetts.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why. So you'd go to like any clothing store, you could get it tax-free.
If I were to guess, I would be willing to guess that Washington does not have any factories. We don't produce things.
Yeah, Boeing.
They don't produce things in Washington.
Oh, they
Those
don't?
get shipped in from other parts of the country. They just put the planes together.
Oh, they put the planes together. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah, no, I don't think Washington is a resource producer. So Washington ships in oil from Alaska. They have seafood, and then they're like one of the biggest suppliers of lumber in the US.
Yeah.
Right. But I don't think they refine anything there.
Yeah.
I think it all gets shipped to other places. So
that
that's
makes
probably
sense.
why.
Well, also that kind of makes sense because Jeff Bezos, the guy who started Amazon, he was living in New York and he moved to Seattle to start a business because the business taxes were so low there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it is changing though. I think,
it is
Washington, or like Seattle specifically, has become like this tech giant.
Yeah.
It's kind of replaced Silicon Valley in a lot of sense.
Yeah, and one thing that's kind of an interesting kind of a result of this of these like state-based law differences and stuff is because the laws can be different.
Yeah.
You have kind of like a different culture there too. And so now, especially now with the rise of remote work, people are voting on which laws they like with their feet. Like when California introduced like a wealth tax, all the rich people moved to Texas or Florida because they were much more friendly.
Yeah, and you also see kind of like other sides of that where it's economically driven, where I'm trying to think of the term. Is it a wine socialist? Is that the term?
I don't even know what that means.
So basically, there's a big trend in the U.S. right now where people are rich people specifically, very affluent people, are voting for very socialist laws to be put in place. And the argument against a lot of these laws being put in, it's like, well, you don't have to live with the consequences. Like, a lot of like really wealthy people are often advocates like during like the ICE protests and everything. And it's like, you'd see like countless videos of like people walking around New York and interviewing people in like these like wealthy areas. It's like, okay, well, do you believe in immigration? Like, do you believe like, if somebody illegally immigrates over to the U.S., do you think that they should just be allowed to live here? And they'd be like, oh, yeah, totally. It's like, oh, cool. Well, like, can this person just live in your house then?
Yeah.
Wow, no.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of people in like kind of the upper middle class and like upper class will vote in these laws and then not have to live with the consequences.
Yeah.
So you're seeing that too. And specifically, if you look at like New York right now, probably our viewers aren't going to know who Mamdani is.
He's the mayor of New York.
He's the new mayor of New York.
And he's a Muslim.
Yes.
Right,
he's also like a democratic socialist, which a lot of people would just kind of just say is like another word of saying communist.
Yeah.
But one of the things that he's like really into is heavily taxing like the billionaires in New York. The consequences of that is a lot of billionaires are just going,
Okay.
All right.
I'm going to Florida.
Yeah, I'm just going to go to Florida now. So, I mean, good luck with this.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like the problem with this kind of aggressive, like, attacking is it really hurts the communities because, you know, a lot of people act like billionaires just kind of sit around and don't do anything.
Yeah.
And I think to some extent, it's like, sure, like, I don't think the average billionaire's day is like, you know, a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like Jeff Bezos has brought a lot of work into Seattle because of Amazon.
Yeah, and
You know
also
what
a
I
lot
mean?
of people have gone very rich through Amazon selling
Right?
there. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So you have these billionaires and people are like shouting tax the rich and they're making all these anti like rich person laws. But what they're really doing is they're driving out these rich people and all of a sudden that's going to trickle down into the local community where businesses are going to be really heavily affected by this.
Yeah.
You know? So it's, I don't know, man. Like, it's, like I said in the beginning of this episode, I think America has the best, like, government system in the world.
Yeah.
But it's so easy for this to flip one side or the other and just screw everything up.
Well, here's the thing, though. So I think, especially because now that we live in the remote working digital age, I think this is actually where you can start to really see the strengths of state laws. Because before, if the state laws shafted you, well, your work was there. You're not just going to quit your job. You have to stay there. But now people can work remotely. And so now people vote with their feet. Like, imagine, like, you saw this in Tokyo too. Like, when remote working started getting more popular in Tokyo, people just left. They went to other prefectures, right? And so what you're actually seeing is like a self-correcting mechanism here where if a state puts out a law that drives away a certain amount of people, well, that state's going to suffer. Yeah. But then other people can move out or you can change it.
You know what I really hate about that, though?
What?
Is I think it's going to really create these echo chamber states where...
okay.
You know, it's like if you're a Republican living in a Democrat state,
Yeah.
or let's simplify this so we can apply Japan to it now. If you are a left-wing person living in a right-wing area, or the vice versa, if you're right-wing in a left-wing area, and you just go, okay, well, I'm out. What it does is it removes that voice from the community.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you're going to get situations where it's like, going back to the U.S., everyone in the state's a Republican. Everyone in this state's a Democrat. And there's going to be this massive cultural divide that I think people are going to really have, like, no ability to form common ground on. Yeah. Because one of the things that I really liked about probably like 10, 20 years ago in the US was people were able to have conversations about stuff. It's like, look, I disagree with you. I'm going to fight you on this. And the other side would be like, well, you know what? I'm going to fight you on this. And eventually, sometimes people would finally come to a term that they can agree on things. Yeah. And I think that's like the ideal situation. It's like you have two people battling it out and eventually they're able to come to terms and reach an agreement that both sides are kind of happy.
Austin, I think you give people too much credit. Like here,
I probably do.
This is something. So I read this book called Bowling Alone, and this is a great book. So this is a very high level book. I don't think many of our readers are going to be able to. Our listeners are going to be able to read it.
Probably way above my intellect.
So it's this book called Bowling Alone. Let me just bring this out here. Okay, so this book Bowling Alone is it's basically about how American society has gone isolated and you don't know your neighbors and why that happened. And one thing that they talked about in the updated version was how actually social media and...
Oh, is this an anti-social media book?
No. This actually...
I am all about that.
So the book was originally written in 2000 before social media. It actually talks about how the advent of television and entertainment at home is what causes people to separate from their communities.
Also don't like that.
Yeah.
I don't watch TV at home. I watch YouTube.
Yeah. But so what he was saying, though, that was interesting was when you would interact with people in your neighborhood, even though you can't control who lives in your neighborhood, generally neighborhoods are decided by socioeconomic factors or political factors. So the people in your neighborhood tend to have the same beliefs as you or similar beliefs as you do.
Yeah.
And dealing with those people on a daily basis actually helped increase societal trust.
Yeah.
Whereas people living in the cities where they interact with hundreds, thousands of people who are totally different, they have low societal social trust because of that. And social media is what actually brings it to everyone, because even in your real world, if you have people similar to you, when you go online, it's so many different opinions.
Yeah.
So maybe the echo chamber states will help increase societal trust across.
You know,
who knows?
it'd be great. But here's the thing, man. Like, we're getting on a little bit of a tangent from the actual episode, but it's just like, I remember the U.S. like 20, 25 years ago, and
it's like 2000.
Maybe this is a very like dumb opinion and very like what's the word? Naive. Maybe this is a really naive take, but from what I remember growing up in that time period, it felt like racism was gone. You know, and like, look, I'm saying this as a white man. I get
80s were sketchy because of the crack cocaine epidemic. Sure. But then you have the 90s, I think, were like the
90s, you still had it because it's like the LA riots were going on and there was this back and forth with the police, and especially on the West Coast, like that still existed. But it feels like, at least growing up at the time, it felt like once we hit like around 2000 and like the early 2000s, it just felt like that was gone.
Well,
and it
so like the thing, just to piggyback on that, is I remember I moved to the States in 1999. And around that time,
was that late.
When I was 7. So like 99, 2000, 2001. I remember some of my favorite TV shows were all black people. But what was funny is it wasn't like TV for black people. It just happened to be a sitcom or a TV show that was all black people.
You know, like if I think of like my favorite actors at the time, Will Smith, Wesley Snipes,
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, man, that was cooking,
dude.
Everyone loved that.
You know, it just like, you know, I loved anime at the time. Like like Asian culture was really interesting. Like it like I had a ton of Filipino friends because like growing up Catholic, it's like you get exposed to like a lot of like Southeast Asians and like Mexican too. And like if you looked at like who I hung out with in high school, I'm not trying to be like I had a black friend, but it's like out in my group of friends when I was in high school, there was probably 8 of us, and there was one other white person in that group. Everyone else was like a different race or ethnicity. And like now that I think about it, like nowadays it feels like we've just gone back like 40 years. It really feels like that. It really feels like society is like regressed. 40 years, and it's like racism is the forefront, and like everyone's battling. There's all this tribalism right now, and God, man, that sucks.
It's weird because I feel like if I told people that I liked like if the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, which was one of the most watched TV shows in the 90s, if that show came out now, it would be like Black Pride. It would be for black people, and like if white people tried to watch it, you wouldn't be allowed to watch
100%. It would be like no. Look at this King Cook. Like, you know, it would just be like this is black culture. You're not allowed to touch this. You know, that kind of thing. And it just sucks because I feel like there was definitely like an effort to kind of come together. And that's the only thing that I'm a little bit worried, like to kind of bring this back into our topic on the video, that I'm a little bit concerned now that we're going to get to a point where we do have these states that are just like all Democrats, all Republicans. And, you know, there's joking conversation about splitting up the West Coast from the United States. That's a joking conversation, but people bring it up a lot now.
They do. Especially
you know what
California
I mean?
separated.
It's weird, like how often it's like I said, look, I'm an outed Republican. I've been outed. I'll admit it. But I talk with people, and I'm not really hostile to Democrats at all. Like I love having conversations, and I don't like having hostile conversations
Yeah.
with people. But I'll talk with people, and like I want to understand where they're coming from. And a lot of people that I talk to are just like, I don't want to be part of the same country as right-wing people.
Yeah, that's...
And I don't like that, man. We need, both sides need to be together, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if you're in the US or any other country, you need people on the left, you need people on the right. Left-wing people, they really push for like workers' rights and the individual rights of a person, which is really important. Right-wing people push for like, look, like let's just cut the bullshit on a lot of things, right? And so you need both of those sides, and it goes back to states' rights versus federal rights, right? Federal rights, human rights, right? That should be something that's applied to everybody. States' rights, hey, fuckhead over in Washington, D.C., you don't know what's going on in Nebraska. Yeah. So stop putting your freaking laws in here and let us govern ourselves. Yeah. It's like there needs to be that balance and that harmony, and that's kind of the reason why I'm trying to wrap this back into our episode. But I really appreciate that harmony, and I really don't want to see that disrupted.
Yeah, I mean, what little harmony is left already, man. But that's another episode we could talk about. We could talk about how America's turned into a shithole or at least I don't want to say the whole country, but
it's I will keep defending the rural area, because as soon as you get out of the city, man, America is such a beautiful country still.
It is.
It literally is. You just got to get out in the countryside and get into these small towns that people are really friendly and everything's really fun.
Yeah.
But it's just the city sucks. Don't go to the city if you go to the US. It sucks.
Yeah. We'll talk about that more on another episode, man. I'll see you next time.
Yeah.
どうでしたか？今回の会話は楽しんでいただけたら嬉しいのですが、英語を実際に生の世界で話せるようになるための第一歩に過ぎません。ほとんどの方はですね、英語のフレーズを学んだり、こういう会話を聞いたりしても、いざ外国人を目の前にして話す機会が来ても、頭が真っ白になって言葉が出てこないです。で、実は僕も同じでした。僕自身も日本語を4年間毎日勉強したのに、実際に日本に来たら全く話せなくて本当に悔しかったです。なんでかっていうと、英語を実際に話せる鍵は勉強じゃなくて、話す感覚を身につけることなんです。で、僕はいっぱい勉強したから、フレーズや文法の知識はあったけれども、実際に話す時の感覚がなかったんです。そこで勉強からこの話す感覚の習得にフォーカスしたら、僕と900人以上の僕の生徒さんが驚くほど話せるようになって人生が劇的に変わりました。具体的にどうやってこの話す感覚を身につけていつでもどこでも気軽に自信を持って話せるようになったかは無料動画講座でシェアしています。もしあなた今の英語学習に満足しているなら問題ないです。ぜひこのままこちらの動画をご覧ください。でももしあなたは今の自分を変えたいとか実際に話せるようになりたいと強く思っているなら無料動画講座をメールでお届けしているのでここをタップするか概要欄にあるリンクをタップしてぜひ登録してみてください。Thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you next time. これからも一緒に世界とつながりましょう。See you next time. それでは、Let's get started. Alright.